We're we're just waiting for Reverend Graham Wray to arrive. We'll catch up with each other after a 3-week hiatus. We've been discussing Barry Shucksmith's book. Here we stand. And I want to give an update on here comes Graham now. Maybe we'll get an update on Christchurch and Exeter. It's been a while. Hello, Graham. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can.
Excellent.
Any updates?
Apologies for my dilatoriness.
Okay, good to be back with you.
Have you had a good time with your family?
I've had a great time resting, seeing the grandkids, and doing nothing, just relaxing.
Did you have a problem with your computer? Is it back up and running now? Obviously it is.
I did. I had a problem with the computer and I got it into the shop and they fixed it and they didn't charge me a penny. So
Well done. Well,
yeah,
you wouldn't get that over here.
yeah,
You're
there
getting
was
out for now to Yorkshire, you know.
he said it was some kind of malware that got into it and he cleaned it up. So anyways, I'm
Very
back
good.
and operational now.
Excellent. I've just had a notice on my computer that I've got 18 viruses, but I rather suspect that that is in itself is a virus.
Ah, yeah. Well, I work on the computer quite a bit, so
Yeah,
any
yeah,
go ahead.
yeah. Updates. The witness statement has gone through to Stephen Hanna's solicitor. He doesn't call him a solicitor; he calls him a legal advisor. So whether there's a difference there, I'm not sure. But anyway, they asked me for a witness statement, so I gave them a witness statement, which basically just said all that we know, about what's been going on. And I sent him various editions of David Negus's advice to us as a connection, all of which again say exactly what we've been saying all along. And it's now apparently with the High Court. Now, the difference is that apparently a High Court ruling is decided by a judge, what they call a QC, a KC, which is a King's Counselor. And they are the top of the legal profession in the UK. So you can't argue with a judge. You can't appeal against a judge. And apparently they have the authority to either accept those witness statements as evidence sufficient to go to court, or if they disregard, if they find those witness statements unacceptable, then in other words, there's no case as far as they're concerned. Then they rule it out of court, and that's it. You can't then appeal. So we're just waiting to hear now whether the judge is going to allow it to go to court, in which case, we'll at last get an opportunity maybe to argue our case in front of a judge, or he'll chuck it out and then we'll just carry on with this silly argy-bargy that has been going on for the last 20 years. But it's almost like a test case, is Exeter, as to whether or not we're going to ever get a fair and free hearing as far as the Evangelical Free Church of England is concerned. If the judge decides that Bishop's rule and Bishop's word is final, then he'll chuck it out of court and we'll just carry on wrangling with Paul Hunt and these two new chaps that have been appointed, Mark Gretason and Matthew Firth, neither of whom I know very well. I know Paul Hunt a little bit, and he's a fairly reasonable chap. But Gretason, I think, is fairly strict, legalistic sort of fella. Wants all the I's dotted and the crosses T's his way, the T's crossed his way. And Firth, I don't know, other than the fact that he's quite a stroppy sort of little chap, from what little encounter I've had with him.
Now, does this case involve just Christchurch, or does it involve FCE connection churches?
Well, as I said, Exeter will be a test case. As things stand, we've never gone to the High Court with the connection point of view. Fenwick, with all his saber rattling, never took us to the High Court. But this chap, Gretason, I think, has introduced a new chapter insofar as he is a KC himself, I think, King's Counsellor himself. So he has the authority to admit cases to a judge, or to recommend that cases be taken to a judge.
But
it's ultimately the judge who decides.
So if the judge allows this to go to trial, what's next?
Then we go to court at great expense. It's the High Court is extremely expensive. They charge you over £100 an hour to be represented there. You can represent yourself, of course, but nobody's going to listen to you, really. You've got to have a legal advisor, really, to get any sort of hearing from a judge.
It's really tragic.
Yeah. Well, David Degas would stand with us, or his team would stand with us. So we've not got a problem in terms of legal representation. But what we would have a problem with is who's going to pay for it. It's likely to cost us thousands of pounds.
Oh, that's horrible.
If we don't lose, though, if we won the case, then they would pay. But if we lost the case, we would have to pay for that, and they wouldn't let us use denominational funds, I don't suppose.
What do what are the connection lawyers think? You got a good case?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, our lawyer reckons that for the last 100 years, since 1927, so it's not quite 100 years, but what are we now, 2025, so since 1927, so it's over 100 years, that, isn't it? Or nearly 100 years, isn't it? We've not been the Free Church of England as per what was registered with the Chancery back in 1887. So when the REC and the FCE joined and became a united denomination, such as it was, I don't think it ever really united, but that's what they tried to convince everybody it happened. Since that time, the Free Church of England hasn't really existed at all. Or if it does, it's not clearly defined what exactly it is, whether we're under the RDC constitution, or we're under the FCE constitution, or something in between. So it's all very vague as far as our solicitors are concerned as to what the Free Church of England actually is and what we believe. But it's not vague in the sense that the Constitution lays it all out. It ties us to the 39 Articles, and it ties us to the Declaration of Principles. So in one sense, it's cut and dried as far as we're concerned. But as far as the legal evils are concerned, the FCE denomination no longer exists as it was originally registered to function. I think so. So that's where the legal minefield comes in, and they can argue till they're blue in the teeth, that blue in the face, that they represent the FCE. But we can equally powerfully argue, well, what is the FCE? Particularly since Fenwick. I mean, we could cite Fenwick's publications to prove that he no longer himself actually complies with the Free Church of England Declaration of Principles. So you can hardly point a finger at us and say we are not Free Church of England if he's not complying himself. It's a veritable mess, really, the whole thing, legally.
Is there a timeline that you all are looking at?
I suppose we could say that the judge will assess how much time is needed for witness statements to be made, etc., once he agrees to it going to court. If he agrees to it going to court, he'll probably have to allow a certain time for the witness statements to be put together.
What was your witness? What did your witness statement say?
Well, I said to Steve, look, I'm going to argue theologically. I said, I'm not really going to argue from the point of view of trust deeds, because each church has its own unique trust deed, prescribing exactly how that charity is to operate and what is to happen to the funds if that charity flounders and it is in fact handed over. The assets of that charity are handed over to the central trust. Each trustee of each church has his own unique way of winding up that charity. So I can't argue, and I don't think anyone can argue on the basis of trustees, not without going into each and every single church's individual trust deed and arguing whether or not that trust deed has been complied with or not, which again is a very, very expensive and time-consuming request to make of any lawyer. We were quoted by David Negus. If we went that route to defend each church individually on the basis of its unique trust deed, we were quoted £9,000 for that exercise. So I very much doubt whether Fenwick or his successors are going to go that route. It would just be far too expensive for them and for us to even begin to think of fighting on those grounds. So my witness statement, as I said to Steve, will relate to the theological divide that we are out of. We're in broken fellowship with our bishops doctrinally. That would be my argument. And what Negus and Charity Commission and all these guys have advised us all the way along is that the law courts don't actually preside over that sort of dispute. It's something you've got to settle among yourselves, because no court, no secular court, will sit in judgment on another church, another charity, to say, oh, you don't believe what you're supposed to believe, because they don't. That's not a legally binding, statements of faith and creeds and whatever. As important as they are for us, they've been absolutely nothing to the secular authorities. It's like Pilate when he tried our Lord, and he washed his hands and he said, "What is truth?" They don't even know where to begin to decide what is truth and what is not truth. That's not what they're trained for. That's not what they're there for. So, on that basis, I'm strongly thinking that I'm pretty well persuaded that the judge will throw this latest attack on a member church of the Free Church of England. He'll throw it out, as he's done with us and the lesser rulings that have been made by. We haven't been to court ever, but we've been to lawyers on both sides. And Fenwick's lawyers have always backed off, and they've used about 4 now. They're on their 4th lawyer now, and that 4th lawyer is not pursuing us any further, or at least he hasn't since November 2023. So it's not likely that they're going to try and press those charges again, I shouldn't imagine.
So if the judge throws it out, you're back where you started.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So,
well, if this test case happens and the judge tosses it, does that end these games Fenwick's crew will be trying in the future?
Hopefully, yes. I mean, I can't see. The High Court is, by definition, as the name implies, the highest court in the land. There's no appeal against it, unless you want to go to Europe and to The Hague or something like that. But
and all they're trying to do is to get the property and the money. That's it.
I guess. Give me a sec, Don. I'm just answering a call that's quite urgent. Sorry, Don. Hold on. Hold fire there.
Okay, yeah, I'll hold on. For those listening, we are talking about Reverend Steve Hanna of Christchurch in Exeter, my maternal ancestral home, with a direct line going back to at least 1606. Although my son Robert maintains that it can be traced back to about 1480. I don't know. I haven't seen any documentation on it. I do have documentation on the lineage back to 1606. And they would have and they lived right in Exeter. They would have lived through the Cromwellian period and Cromwell's entrance into Exeter Cathedral. And of course, my ancestors would have been and were Church of England, because that was the only established and lawful church in the land. And Grahame has been fighting these battles for some 22 years or so. And Fenwick, foul Fenwick, and hapless Hunt, and what can only be said to be greedy Gretason, are going after, trying to, it looks like, grab the money in the building. They tried that with Emmanuel in Morecambe. They've tried it, as Grahame indicated, 3 or 4 other times. Actually 3 other times in Exeter is the 4th time. And part of the theological argument is that Fenwick has abandoned the Declaration of Principles, as has shifted.
Sorry there, Don.
That's okay. You good?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm back.
Yeah. So we don't have any particular timeline in view. We're just kind of on standby. I think, trials, at least here in the US, can go on for quite a long time.
Yeah. Especially complicated trials like this. I mean, if it does get admitted to court, and as I say, I'm increasingly thinking that it won't. They will throw it out. I haven't heard from Stephen yet. I must give him a ring if he doesn't give me. But I'm increasingly thinking that it's not going to go to court. in which case, hopefully that'll be the end of it, and we'll be able to then reach some agreement, because this is ridiculous, us having to please the central trust the whole time. We can't move, we can't do a thing,
By the way, Ed, by the way, I am reading Fenwick's book written in 2004, The Free Church of England. I didn't know I had it. I didn't know he wrote that.
All
And
right.
the first
That's
70 to 100 pages are fairly accurate in terms of the history.
Yeah,
And
he's just copied Vaughan in those early stages.
okay, and he also references a book published in 1873 by F.S. Merriweather, The Free Church of England, Its History, Doctrines, and Polity. And I did a check on Amazon.com and couldn't find it. I did a check on the Internet Archive.org, and it's not there either. So the book has basically disappeared. And apparently, according to Fenwick, this book by Merriweather traces the Free Church of England, which by 1873 is almost 30 years after the James Shore fiasco with that porcupine Bishop Philpotts, who had the personality of a kidney stone, and patients, impatient with fever blisters on his bottom. So this book by Merriweather allegedly really goes into detail on the Free Church being a continuing expression of the Countess of Huntington and the Calvinistic Methodists or the Whitfieldians. And then he pushes it back to the English Reformation, and then back to the Lollards and John Wycliffe, and all the way back to Elfric, who was a bishop in the 10th century, who was reformed on the issue of the Eucharist. And I would love to have that, because that history was never pushed forward much at Reformed Episcopal Seminary. In other words, Merriweather says the FCE is a genuine, legitimate expression of the Reformed Church of England. And I think that that's an important point to be documented. That and Fenwick makes the point that the FCE was much more than just a response to Tractarianism. And I think that that's very, very significant point. Again, never appreciated by Leonard Riches or Shifty Sutton, because we're reformed in theology. And that's what drove the Declaration of Principles, the priesthood of all believers, the Reformed view of the table, and even church polity with two-order government, not three-order government.
Right.
Because in the Reformed Church would accept ordained men from the French Huguenots and from the Swiss Reformed. They would come in, they didn't have to be reordained.
Wow.
So the history of the
Yeah.
FCE, I haven't finished Fenwick's book yet. But then I'm going to, once I'm done with that, I have Frank Vaughan's book here in hardcover, and I'm going to reread that one.
Yeah, and I've got to get you the I've got to send off to you the prayer book as well, haven't I? I haven't done that yet, sorry to say.
Yeah,
I'll get that to you.
I'd like to see how it differs with the old REC prayer book. I use the old REC prayer book for daily offices every day here.
Uh-huh.
And I
Yeah, that's
attach
pretty close, isn't it?
I use a YouTube hymn very often. I replay Guide Me, O Thou Great Jehovah, and then I often end with Immortal, Invisible, God Only Wise, and Light Inaccessible, Hid from Our Eyes. So I've got two or three favorite YouTube hymns that I use to introduce morning prayer, and one or two hymns to end morning prayer. That keeps the ship in the right channel between the buoys.
Yeah. Well, he does touch on this early history in his other publications, and kind of his way of dodging the anti-Tractarian roots of the Free Church of England is to say that those disputes, or at least the reason for those disputes, no longer exist, on the grounds that the reformers were fighting against papal Rome, whereas the are you there, Don?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm listening.
Yeah. Sorry, my phone just went blank, so I'm wondering. I thought it maybe it cut you off, but yeah, he argues really from the point of view that the Reformation was actually more of a political movement
Wrong.
of the British monarchy against papal supremacy, and that sort of superseded any theological issues that were being debated.
Totally wrong.
Meanwhile,
I need to,
that
I'm gonna,
yeah,
I have the other books by Fenwick. I'm gonna go through those again, because I've updated my mind on so many other things to see how he does that. If Foul Fenwick is playing that game, that's just totally wrong. Of course, there's a
yeah,
political dimension to it. Nobody doubts that, but there was
yeah,
the men, 287 men and women went to the flames in the Marian period over theology.
yeah. I mean, they gave their lives for that very reason. So, it's ridiculous to argue that they didn't have a theological difference with Rome.
And I was just reviewing some of my handwritten notes early this morning on Nicholas Tyake. I think I'm saying that right. It's Tyake, and also some notes on Patrick Collinson on the Church of England. And both of those scholars, well-read scholars, conclude that the Elizabethan period was essentially controlled by Calvinistic theology. Period.
Yeah,
So if Fenwick is playing that game, he does so knowingly and intentionally. And for people who are not well read in those areas, he could get over on them.
yeah, and also I think it's quite a common theme amongst the broader Anglican churches at the moment, or kind of the leading spokesman for Anglicanism today do have this broader view of the Church of England. Certainly, I think GAFCON men, though they might be quite reformed in their theology, and they certainly move within reformed circles and so on and so forth. But if you try and get them to speak out against the high church and the ritualists, they're very reluctant to actually come out in their true colors.
I'm
So
reminded of Cranmer's trial. I've read all the transcripts, et cetera, et cetera. And when they were getting ready to defrock him, they dressed him up in all the vestments and the garb, and piece by piece, they took one piece off, one vestment, another vestment, until he was stripped down to basically his undergown. And as they were taking off the vestments, Cranmer said, "Doesn't bother me. I've given up on those a long time ago. I can go down to
Yeah.
Cheapside and buy them all for a very cheap price." In other words, the vestments did not matter to him.
Yeah.
And the Anglo-Catholics like Shifty and Leonard, that became their big driving point, was vestments.
Yeah.
And the
Well, it's
Anglo-Catholic,
interesting that I was reading this history that my son's passed on to me concerning the so-called Dark Ages. You know, the Middle Ages, when the Catholics were still sort of sparring with the Eastern Orthodox, and he makes the point that the Eastern Orthodox Church at one point was more interested in the ritual and the dress of worship than they were in the theology of worship. Whereas the Catholic Church was more interested in their pronouncements from the Pope, you know, and what the Church was supposed to believe. And that was an interesting, you know, insofar as he's accurate in making that assessment, it made me realize that, you know, these guys aren't really interested in theology, really. They're more interested in what they're supposed to be wearing, whether it's a sacerdotal dress or otherwise, and what they look like. That's their concern more than theology. And we've certainly seen that with Fenwick. You know, he's of course taken on all these fancy robes from the Nordic Church, and the ritual is very important to him. He said that I think I've mentioned this before, that at the consecration of some bishop or other over on your side of the Atlantic, he said, "Oh, you get to wear all this," and he points to his fancy cloaks and what have you, you know, as if that's your claim to fame, you know. Really and truly, he's got to rethink that, surely.
well,
Don,
go ahead.
I've sent you a link to um, a book that you can get online, an e-book you can get online of Meriwether's Free Church of England History, Doctrines, and Ecclesiology,
Oh, beautiful,
Ecclesiastical Polity.
beautiful.
See if you can pick it up on your side there.
You want me to do that now?
Yeah, I might as well.
Give me a second.
I've sent it via AOL, America Online. You can't do better than that.
Yeah, you sent it to my email.
Yeah, I sent it to Donald Veitch, Donald Philip Veitch at gmail.com.
Yeah, it hasn't come through yet.
Okay.
But I will definitely be hunting for that. It's an ebook. Okay. So this Meriwether was the registrar of the FCE, but like Fenwick points out, without going into depth, Meriwether traces all of this back through all the iterations to be the true representative, continuing representative of the Free Church of England. Oh yeah,
Right.
I just got it.
Okay.
And I will get into that after we're done here today.
Right. Did you hear about the consecration of it was all on Facebook, splashed across Facebook, the consecration of what's his name? Mark Gretason and Matthew Firth. Did you see all that?
I did. And apparently it was poorly attended, but they spent a lot of money in bringing bishops from outside England to this event.
Yeah. Now, how does that work? Did Sutton come over or not? I suppose he did, eh?
I have no idea. I think there was a REC guy. What's his name? It's a Dutch name, Van something. And then there was another from Croatia. So they spent some money getting them there. But when they saw the picture of the congregation, I would say there's more than 15 people there, 20 people at the most.
Right. Did that a comment come from Trevor Jordan that it was very lavish? Hey, I think he said it was very lavish.
Yeah, he
He
did.
spent an awful lot of money on it. Yeah. How does he persuade these busy men to come and join in what is, in the bigger scheme of things, it's a non-event, really, isn't it? As far as Anglicanism is concerned, I would have thought.
Well, to get a free trip and free housing and free food, it's like a vacation for them.
do, do you think that's the kind of incentive for them to just come and have a break, come and have a break from the real world?
Well, I guess so.
Yeah. Anyway, this Merriweather fellow's work sounds like it's on a par with Vaughan, eh? Frank Vaughan, but
That's
earlier. It dates earlier.
I'm just pulling it up now for a download. 1873.
Yeah,
Um,
216 pages, eh?
yeah, I don't know. I don't see the download function yet. Download ebook. I'm
Yeah,
doing it now. Um, I will get to that for sure after we're done.
yeah.
Because, I mean, he connects it all the way back to the Archbishop Elfric. Elfric
Oh,
was arguing against married priests, it must be noted, in that period, because there were still married priests up until 1000 AD. But he takes the Reformed view of the sacrament, which goes back another 200 years to Corby, Bertram of Corby, and Rattranimus. So transubstantiation is a new doctrine, began emerging in 1100 AD. So I got to sign up for a download somehow. Oh, dangerous
no.
web page.
Oh,
I will check that out later.
yeah. Don't get another virus on your
Yeah,
computer.
yeah.
Shall I try my side here and see where that downloads? It's processing. Read online, sign up for download. You can read it online if you wish, if you prefer.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, we'll play with that later.
yeah, yeah.
Good. Do you want to go on with a bit of Barry's stuff, or are we going to come together on Monday for that?
Let's come together on Monday for that. And I'm going to
Okay,
see if we can get Vaughn's book and
yeah,
maybe read
I
through
might
that.
be tied up. Yeah, have a look at that in the meantime. And I might be tied up Monday, Don, but I'll confirm with you.
Okay.
We're hoping to say goodbye to a friend of ours who's going over to, well, he's already gone, our friend, but his wife and family are still here. We wanted to pop up and see them before they go to Zambia. They're working in Zambia. So I might not be available Monday, Don. I'll confirm with you.
Okay.
In which case we'll see you Wednesday, and I'll try and remember that we're meeting Wednesday.
Okay, well, do you want to call it to a close here today?
Okay then, Don. And you keep well, and we'll let you know if we hear anything from Stephen, eh?
It sounds good. So I'll talk to you later.
Okay. God
Bye-bye.
bless. Bye for now.